What's going on, y'all? We are at Cedar Swamp in Gulfport, Mississippi today, and I'm going to be covering down on a topic that y'all have requested many times. We're going to be talking about Redfish 101, and in particular, we're going to be talking about the setups that I use to catch a ton of redfish out here on the Gulf Coast. All right, so when we're talking about fishing for redfish, there's really two camps that you can go for when targeting. You have your power fishing, and then you have your finesse fishing. So for the first thing, we're going to talk about a power setup. Okay, now when we're talking about a power setup, we're talking about moving, covering a lot of water, and throwing a lure out there that we can just rip back to us really fast to try to aggravate those strikes. For a power setup, I like to use a medium heavy fast rod. The rod that I prefer is the Chubby rods. This is a 7.3 medium heavy fast action, and then I always have that spooled up with 20 to 30 pound test. You can get away with 30 pound test on a power setup, but if you're using that setup for many different things, you can probably go with 20 pounds and get away with it pretty good. So I do always use fluorocarbon leader, and I always start off with a long 20 to 30 pound fluorocarbon leader, typically 4 to 5 feet. And then the lures that I'm using, like I said, we're power fishing. My main lure is going to be a WAKEBAIT. This is my own personal WAKEBAIT. This is the GOAT, and a WAKEBAIT is used in a marsh system. We're throwing it out there. We're just retrieving it back to us really fast and aggravating those strikes. Other power lures would be like a gold spoon, a Redfish magic spinnerbait, chatterbaits, anything that you're throwing out there and just a steady retrieve back to the boat, kayak, or bank. So when would we use a power setup? So a lot of the times that I'm using a power setup is going to be first thing in the morning. Set that out the way. First thing in the morning or late in the evening with a lot of water movement. When I'm seeing a lot of activity on the water, you're seeing a lot of blow-ups, a lot of activity, a lot of moving water, I'm going to go with a power setup. Also, if we're going throughout the day, we're looking to find a bite, right? I'm going to throw out a power setup just to find an area where I can find the fish, because it allows me to cover a lot of water really fast, so I can try to put a pattern together. So the second setup is going to be our finesse setup, right? So when would we use a finesse setup? Mainly whenever the fishing gets tough. So later on in the day, 10, 11, 12 o'clock, your activity levels are really starting to die off, and those fish aren't really chasing. They're not as active as they were early on. We're gonna go over to a finesse setup, right? Something I can put in the strike zone, shake it in their face a little bit, and get them to react to something that's moving slow. So one of my favorite finesse lures of all time is going to be the curl tail jig by Bugs Fishing. I will have all of this linked down below, so be sure if y'all want to check out any of this stuff, it'll all be down in the description. But yeah, that curl tail jig right there, something like that I can work really slow and it still has a natural presentation. Another one would be maybe like a voodoo shrimp, not on a popping cork, right? Just out there free lining it, popping it around some grass. Going with any kind of creature baits, all of that is in the realm of finesse, right? So like I said, you want to do that whenever the fishing is tough, slack tides, hotter water temperatures, things like that. The setup, so I don't have one on me right now, but whenever I'm looking for a finesse setup for redfish, speckled trout, anything like that, I like a medium rod with a fast tip, something that whenever I feel that bite, I can really get a direct hook set. So having that fast action is really important on that. But I do like a medium, because a medium power allows me to throw that lighter lure a lot further. So do that. And then whenever we're talking about our fishing line, I prefer to go with 10 to 15 pound test, because it being a lighter lure, right, you want less drag against that lure in the water. Lighter line is going to give you a more natural presentation. So 10 to 15 pound test will be perfect for something like that. And then to wrap this up, talking about our reel sizes, I pretty much keep the same size reels for anything redfish, right? 3 to 4,000 size spools on spinning gear, and 150 size gear on all of my conventional setups. But that's pretty much Redfish 101, getting you set up with the right gear to get out there and get more redfish. Like I said, we're here at Cedar Swamp in Gulfport, Mississippi. If y'all are ever in the area, be sure to stop by, see Rocky, Great guy here, runs an awesome tackle shop and has pretty much everything you will ever need to get you on the water and get you catching some fish. See y'all next time.